Welcome back to another reading and correcting of Bottom Rung with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. Today we are doing chapter 41. Good. Jekyll greeted Tibs as he entered the room. Now that you're here, we can go over our training schedule. Tibs looked at his friends, processing what Jekyll said. Mez was lying back on his bed, seemingly asleep. The cleric was seated, legs crossed in a way that looked painful. His eyes were closed, and his breathing slow. Was he also asleep? Karina pulled a stone plaque and chalk out from under her bed, smiling at him. Tibbs was not doing what she was planning on was not wait, what? Tibbs was not doing what she was planning on training him in. Was not okay, alright, okay. Wow. Tibbs, for one thing, Tibbs wasn't going with her plans. Tibbs wasn't going with her. Wow. Tibbs wasn't going with her plans for his training. I'm going to train at night. The fighter frowned. That's not going to work for us, Tibbs. I don't need you to train with me, he answered, unsure why they'd want to take part in his training. We need to train together, Tibbs, Jekyll said, as a team. If the boss has shown us anything... If the boss room has shown us anything, is that we need to work together, and we have Mez and Cumdar to incorporate. Oh, no, I mean I'm going to do my rogue training at night. It's the best way to not get caught when I steal. Maz sat up. Can't you run that by me again? I'm a rogue, he said. If he enunciates, then that has to be I am a rogue. He said, enunciated the words as he headed for his bed. Rogues trained by stealing. No, Jekyll said. The rules are clear. No crimes. That means no stealing. Tib shrugs and lied down. Harry said to just make sure I didn't get caught. You spoke with hard knuckles? Jekyll asked in disbelief. My teacher called him over. I think they know each other. And he said you can steal? The fighter asked, still sounding like he didn't believe him. As long as I don't get caught, if I do, it's a sell for me. At least I won't lose a hand anymore. That was the definite improvement over the street and how things used to be there. Oh, actually, no, I would, a street or how things used to be here. But it puts us out of at least a run, Kirina said. She had the stone plaque on her lap, and Tibbs saw forms that could be letters on it in chalk. You do remember what we need the 5 of us to go in. We can only get a replacement if you die, which we won't arrange, Jekyll stated, looking at each of them. Kirina rolled her eyes. Mez did a gesture with the fingers of a hand Tibbs thought was meant to be rude. Cumdar opened his eyes. I am hoping that I am hoping that is simply some way you have to diffuse attention and not an actual warning and not something you expect one of us to do. Well, the fighter grinned. It isn't like I know you that well. For all I know, you're so obsessed with coins, you have no problem killing one of us so we can replace him and go on the run. Commodore stared at the fighter. He isn't serious, Kirina said. Jekyll likes to think he's funny. Tibs added, I am funny. It's you who has no sense of humor. Cor laughs at my jokes. Tibs looked at his friend. He's your guy? Isn't he forced to laugh? Kirina snorted, then covered her mouth to stifle the laughter. Now that's funny, Mez said, and Jekyll glared at him. Tibbs, I think you've lost track of the dynamics here. The fighter said, It's you and me against the rest of them. You should be taking my side. That stopped me. That stopped being true when we became a team, Tibbs replied. Now it's all of us against them. Since I refuse to acknowledge you, just think of me as one of the team instead of your very best friend. Wait. Ah. Okay, what did I mean? What was I going for? Okay, so this is Jackal talking. Since I refuse to acknowledge you. Oh, I see. I see. Where this comma does not belong here. Since I refuse to acknowledge you just think of me as one of the team instead of your very best friend, I'm going back to the start of this and take Karina's side and not yours. He crossed his arm over his chest. Tib shrugged. I'm only putting the cell if I get caught. I'm not going to get caught. May I point out what I think May I point out what I think is a flaw in your reasoning, Tibbs? Commodore asked, still not looking sure of Jackal's behavior. This isn't a city. Okay, I need to remove the contractions. This is not a city. It is barely more than a village, for all that it is called a town. Once something goes missing, will not this Harry know it is you? You already as much as admitted you were the one when you asked about being able to. Hart Knuckles going to need proof Tibbs did it. Jekyll said. He isn't someone who throws a thief in a cell just because he thinks he's the one who did it. But Commodore has a point. Knuckles knows what you're planning. He is going to make sure his rabble is keeping an eye on you. Tibbs snorted, like losing one of them was going to be hard. They never looked up. No one's going to know I took anything, not even the people I take it from. Tibbs, I know you think you're good, Kirina said, but I am good, Tibbs said, sitting. But that's not why. He looked at them. Who here, other than us runners, pays attention to how many coppers we have? I'll just take one to prove I did it. He looked at Jekyll. This isn't like Mountain Sea, Tibbs, the fighter said. Here, the trouble's real. Hard Knuckles isn't a nice man. He seems nicer than whoever... he seems nicer than whoever was here before him, Tibbs said. At least he's keeping his guards under control instead of letting them do what they want. And I have to train. I'm a rogue. I can't just practice in the dungeon. That's going to get us killed. You can already deal with the dungeon, Jekyll said. Don't sell yourself short. My understanding is you worked out the pattern on the tile the first time you saw that room. You're the one who saw the boss floor first. The boss door first. You even opened it without any tools. The dungeon's going to get harder. I never noticed the hidden key in the boulder room. I have to train, Jekyll. I don't want us to die. He does have a point, Mez said. All of us, rogues. Of all of us, rogues are the only ones who haven't gotten serious training. You fought, I've shot my bow, I expect sorcerers did sorcery stuff. But the rogues only had cheap traps and locks to work with. The one we have left are good because they were already better than anyone who had The one we have left are good because they were... Okay, the ones we have left are only good because they were already better than anyone who had to rely on the training they got here to survive. Thought you were against him stealing, Jekyll said. I'm not some noble who's more interested in being right. Mez replied, Tibbs has good points. I don't like it, but unless you can think of someone good... Someone that you can convince to teach him, unlike us, he's on his own. Tibbs fixed his gaze on the fighter. Jekyll glanced at him, then Karina, before running a hand over his face. Okay, but it's not the reason you think. It's not for the reason you think. You want to tell him, Tibbs? You're the one who found that out. Mez looked at Tibbs and as Jekyll and Karina, he considered not telling him, even now that Jekyll had made it clear there was something. Okay. Okay. But it's not for the reason you think, Mez. You want to tell him, Tibbs? You're the one who found that out. Mez looked at Tibbs. Mm-hmm. You know what? Let's just go like this. As with Jekyll and Karina, he considered not telling him. Even now that Jekyll had made it clear there was something. But Mez deserved the truth. Every runner did, but Tibbs couldn't tell all of them. You can't tell anyone outside this room, Tibbs said. I don't know what the guild will do if they find out. If they find out we know, but I don't think it's going to be anything good. He waited for the archer to nod. The guild is charging us for every day of training we get. We can't get out of it. If you refuse to train with who they assigned you, they'll find someone else. Once we reach Epsilon, we're going to have to pay it all back or work for the guild until we have. You talk like this isn't how things are already done, Miss said. No one offers services for free. They charge 3 gold per day, Jekyll said. That's fine, the archer said. I'm used to. How much? 3 gold per day, Karina repeated. That can't be right. You mean silver. Tibbs shook his head. My teacher is who told me. He didn't lie. Why would he tell you something like that? It came up, Tibbs said, and shook his head when Mez looked like he would say more. I believe him. 3 gold a day, Kamdar said. Even Noble wouldn't pay those rate for training. At least the dungeon gives us loot, Mez said, sounding like he clung to that fact to avoid falling off the edge of a roof. All right, Jekyll said, breaking the extended silence. We already knew we were being screwed, right? Knowing how much doesn't change where we are. We're a runner, and in a few days we are going to we're going to have a dungeon to run. That one that graduated. Tibbs, you need to do your rogue training. Actually, you know what? I've stopped capitalizing. So that's, I need to... the only word I'm still capitalizing is runner. Well, you know what? I can miss one here and there. My editor will catch it. You need to do your rogue training your way. Fine, I can't do anything to prevent that, but we still need to train as a team. We need to work out our strengths and our weaknesses. Tibbs nodded. Does anyone here still have essence training? Jekyll asked the room. Or are you also at that be one with your essence thing? Tibbs snorted. That's not what my teacher called it, Kirino said, looking at him oddly. But yes, until I master my essence, there's nothing she can teach me. Same here, Mez said. Tibbs, you tried not to snicker. I'm like that too. I told you I was funny, Jekyll said. Tibbs thought about telling them, trying to show them how to move past where they were. He was almost sure Alistair had given him permission, and that even if he hadn't, he wouldn't be too angry with him. They were rogues. so rules didn't have to stick to them. But how would his friends' teachers react? What if their breakthrough came while around others? How would any of them explain it? His teacher would understand. Would the guild? Alistair warned him against thinking of Tyrannia as an ally. They had their full reserve, Tibs decided. They could afford to do things the way the guild dictated for a while longer. So how do we train our weaknesses? Kierna asked. Figure out our strength. I'm not sure any of you understand how sorcery works well enough to help me. I'm thinking of asking one of the other teams for help, Jekyll said. Maybe more than one. We can all use the help. Will the guild allow it? Tibbs asked. We're not competing against each other, Jekyll replied. Our opponent is the dungeon. So long as you don't ask Don for help, Miss said. I'm okay with it. Jekyll closed and opened his hand. There were only faint lines left, and he didn't seem to feel any pain. No danger of that. Tibbs, do you work better after waking up or after a day of being awake? Tibbs considered that either. Then how do you plan on arranging your training? I runs in the morning. I'm going to sleep in the afternoon. Train my rogue skill at night. So that leaves us the morning to train together. Jekyll finished with a nod. The run probably won't always be in the morning, Maz pointed out. True, Jekyll replied, but unless we plan on putting all our coins to try for a spot on the first day, Tibbs will know how long enough ahead of to adjust, right? Tibbs nodded again. All right, we have a plan. Tibbs doesn't get caught. We talk with a few of the teams to see what can be arranged, and we train for our run. And Tibbs, I'm serious about not getting caught. Forget the team and us needing you to do the run. Trust me when I tell you you don't want to be alone in a cell where hard knuckles people can get to you. You're going to have to tell us what's between you and him, Jekyll, Kierna said. Pray I never have to. I won't get caught, Tibbs said. I promise. Good. Then I'm going to celebrate before starting negotiation. Who's with me? I'm going to sleep, Tibbs said, stretching, so I can start training tonight. Tell Krosef to go easy on you, okay? You have training in the morning. And this concludes chapter 41 of Bottom Rung. If you are enjoying this, please subscribe, hit the bell, hit the thumbs up, share, tell your friend, tell the world. If you want to read the story, there's a link to Royal Road where it's posted in its entirety. There's also a link in the note to my Patreon should you want to support me. And with that, I shall wish you a good day.